It's a new year, and that means it's time to celebrate the best of what 2022 had to offer. Welcome back to Ember Productions. Hey guys, I'm Maxwell Haddad. Welcome back to Ember Productions. As we gear up for all of the great stuff we have planned for 2023, both here on the channel and in our producing in real life, I thought it would be super fun to make a couple of videos celebrating what some of my favorite stuff was in 2022. So today, in this video, I'm going to be going through my top 15 television shows of 2022. Before I dive into the list, I just want to talk a few ground rules, a few notes. First of all, this is just my opinion. With any sort of top or best or favorite of the year list, there is an inherent level of subjectivity. That's the case here. I don't expect anyone to agree with me on anything or everything. This is just my opinion. I respect and am open to your opinion, as I would hope you would be respectful and open to mine. So let me know in the comments, what were some of your favorite shows? Do you disagree with me? Feel free to disagree with me, as long as you're polite about it. Let's have a discussion. I love discussing this stuff. I'm not here to make any sort of definitive or declarative statements. I'm just sharing one guy's opinion. And on that note, there's a lot of TV I haven't seen. I'm one person. This is not my full-time job. Of course I haven't seen every TV show. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that's missing. There are shows that I love where the first few seasons were great, and for whatever reason I have not gotten to see the new seasons yet. So there are going to be errors on this list. This is the best I could do based on what I was able to see that aired in 2022. And also, just because a show doesn't appear on the list doesn't mean I didn't like it. There are far, far, far more than 15 TV shows that I watched and enjoyed in 2022. I always like to assemble these lists to celebrate all the different types of stuff that I think television has to offer. And without further ado, let's get into the list. At number 15, we have Atlanta. Now, Atlanta, interestingly, aired 2 separate seasons in 2022. They filmed these back-to-back. There had been like a 4-year gap since we had the previous seasons of Atlanta. And this is really interesting because these 2 seasons are very different. Season 3 sees our main characters going off to Europe, while we also had some episodes that were sort of an anthology series with characters that we didn't know. And then in Season 4, it felt more of like a gang getting back together sort of situation. We're back in Atlanta. But regardless, throughout all of this, this show is audacious and bold, it's inventive, it's insightful, it's weird, it is always funny, always entertaining. It maybe doesn't always fully coalesce into something perfect, but I found its approach to be so interesting and so enjoyable, and every week had me thinking and discussing and wondering what's going to come next. I will take something that swings for the fences every day over something that is content to just aim down the middle. At number 14, we have The Boys. Season 3 of The Boys aired in 2022, and we actually did a recap series about this show here on the channel. The Boys is a super fun superhero show that deconstructs the tropes of the genres. It's violent, it's foul. This season in particular had one of the great lewd dick jokes I can recall seeing in filmed entertainment in a long time. And I thought what was particularly strong about this season is, as Homelander continues to grow as a character, the illusions that the show is making between him and our previous president are all the more glaring, all the more impactful, and all the more fun and terrifying to watch unfold. And then, complementing that, we had Jensen Ackles join the cast as Soldier Boy, and man, was that character and that performance absolutely fantastic. And seeing Homelander and Soldier Boy working together, not working together, and all of our other characters getting mixed in this arc was really entertaining. Terrific season of television. At number 13, We have The After Party. This is a show that aired on Apple. This is a show that is by Chris Miller of Lord and Miller, but this was Chris working predominantly on his own. It's a murder mystery comedy show with an incredible ensemble featuring Ben Schwartz, Tiffany Haddish, Dave Franco, and on and on. And I thought what was so exciting about this show is how every single episode played in a different genre. Each episode shows similar events of the night of the murder from someone else's perspective. And I thought the real genius of this show was that as each new person is telling the detectives about their experience, the way it unfolds might be a musical, might be a thriller, might be animated, might be comedy. Really bold, audacious stuff with a mystery that worked really well. The clues were spread out well. As I said, the ensemble was terrific. That's The After Party. Really, really good stuff. At number 12, we have House of the Dragon, the prequel to Game of Thrones. I know a lot of opinions about how Game of Thrones ended. Totally understand if it upset you, if it didn't, and why you may or may not want to dive back into the world of Westeros. I thought House of the Dragon was really, really good. As a prequel, it avoids some of the trappings of the worst prequels and instead builds up really strong new characters. I thought the way the season crescendoed into making these two factions warring against each other, all of the intrigue, all of the violence, all of the sex and everything that was building into this was really fascinating to watch. Of course, there's tons of dragons, fantasy warfare, and the cast is extraordinary. Paddy Considine is amazing. He has one episode in particular where he really gets to soar. Matt Smith as his brother gets to craft one of these amazing sort of roguish, is he good? Is he bad? I don't know, but I can't stop looking away characters that reminded me a lot of, say, Spike on Buffy, or Sawyer on Lost, or even Damon on The Vampire Diaries. At the end of the day, though, this show is really about Emma Darcy and Millie Alcock, who got to play Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen at different ages, as well as Olivia Cooke and Emily Carey, who got to play Queen Alicent Hightower at different ages. These four performers are extraordinary. Their characters are fascinating to watch, and I cannot wait to see how all of the intrigue and the drama continues to unfold in Season 2. At number 11, we have the only reality show that made my list, and that is The Big Brunch. This show aired on HBO Max. It's created by Dan Levy. If you know anything about me, you know how much I love Dan Levy, and I'm not surprised, but I am delighted by how much I enjoyed this show. Imagine Top Chef, where they're only cooking variations on brunch, and it's warm and empathetic and inspiring with a nice dose of sass. It reminds me of the early seasons of the Great British Baking Show, as opposed to so many other competitive reality shows where it becomes yelling and drama and ridiculous challenges for the sake of that. This is about cooking, it is about personality, it is about everyone coming together to lift each other up. I hope they keep making this show, and I hope the successive seasons are as good, because this show was like a warm blanket of food and friends and wonderful chefs. At number 10, we have Only Murders in the Building. Now, season 1 of the show was my top show of last year, and it's not so much a knock on season 2 of this show that it's number 10, but more at how 2022 was a very different year for television than 2021 was. Season 2 of Only Murders was still fantastic. Whenever you have a show where there's one mystery going throughout an entire season, there's always questions. Are they going to be able to do it again? And I think, for all intents and purposes, they did it again. The mystery was compelling. The way the clues were outlaid throughout the season worked really well. There was a lot of great new characters like Cara Delevingne and Michael Rappaport, and recurring characters from the previous season who got to come back, Tina Fey and Jane Heideshell and Jackie Hoffman, and on and on. But at the end of the day, this show is about the trio of Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. The writing on the show could be terrible, and it would still be a joy to watch these three spar off each other and craft these characters and solve mysteries. The writing happens to be quite good, if not downright excellent. And so to see them get to play this material is a joy. It's a great New York show, great mysteries. Cannot wait to see how they do in season 3, because the end of season 2 definitely already sets up season 3, and if the first 2 seasons are any indication, we are in for a treat. Number 9, we have Heartstopper. This was a young adult LGBTQ show that aired on Netflix, starring Kit Connor and Joe Locke. This was just such a warm, lovely, queer coming-of-age story. It has so much romance. It had a beautiful trans story. It was so inclusive. I wish this show existed when I was younger, because to see the story told with pathos and empathy, it felt almost revelatory. It shouldn't. This should be how it always goes, but this show felt like lightning in a bottle, and again, like so many of these, I hope that they can retain this level of quality in the successive seasons. It's based on a series of graphic novels that are also quite good, so check out Heartstopper, the TV show, and the graphic novels, if you haven't seen it. At number 8, we have Stranger Things. Season 4 of Stranger Things aired in 2022. This season was long, and it was a little messy, but what an amazing ride. This dived even deeper into the horror aspects of the show. It was such a great adventure. You love these characters, and going on a journey with them is such a joy. And this season had so many high points. It introduced a big bad in Vecna that it sort of felt like the previous 3 seasons had been leading up to. We had the new fan favorite Eddie Munson, played by Joseph Quinn, and this character is just awesome. From the get, I fell in love with this character, and watching him throughout season 4 of Stranger Things was a joy. Who can forget the sort of amazing water cooler moment that was Running Up the Hill with Max, and the way that song blew up. Just a terrific season of sci-fi fantasy horror television. There's only 1 season left, and if this season is any indication, I think they're on the road towards nailing the finale. Let's hope that all ends well in Hawkins, and we can look back on Stranger Things and say, yeah, all 5 seasons of this show were great, because season 4 was certainly pretty damn great. At number 7, we have Barry. Barry is one of those shows where every season ends and you're like, they really wrote themselves into a corner. I don't know how the show can continue on. I don't know if this show can continue on, and yet they keep nailing it. This was the darkest, most mature, most impactful season the show has seen thus far. Although it is funny, and it has some hilarious Hollywood satire, it is almost past the time that we can even call this show a comedy. It is maybe a dark comedy, but it's more of a drama. And this season had some terrific action stuff. The level of filmmaking craft on display in this show is absolutely brilliant. There's one sequence in particular involving a motorcycle chase that I would argue maybe had the best filmmaking television saw all of last year. And it's really a testament to how Bill Hader continues to evolve and grow as an actor, as a writer, and as a filmmaker. Season 3 of Barry was terrific, and I have no idea what season 4 is going to look like, but I do know I cannot wait. At number 6, we have Abbott Elementary. This show aired parts of season 1 and season 2 throughout 2022, and this show, man, this is just on one of those magical, iconic sitcom runs where every episode is screamingly funny, where the ensemble is delivering performances that are just coalescing so well and are at just like the next level of comedy. I think in a couple years we're going to be talking about this show, if we aren't already, in the same breath as beloved classics like Parks and Rec and The Office. It is that good, and it even might have the possibility to top those shows for 2 reasons. Number 1, it is such a loving homage to the plight of public school teachers and the public school system and everything that has to go through. This show has its finger on the pulse, and it deals with hot button issues in a very funny way, but a way that can also be really eye-opening to people who are unaware of what's going on. And it is also a great Philadelphia show. I lived in Philly for 5 years. I did college and grad school there, and this show nails a very particular part and aspect of Philadelphia that I have not seen in a lot of filmed entertainment. Watching this back to back with It's Always Sunny would certainly make for a very interesting depiction of Philadelphia. At number 5, we have Andor. Now, since Disney Plus launched a few years ago, they've had a lot of pretty good shows in the realm of Star Wars, in Marvel, shows based on their previous movies like National Treasure and Mighty Ducks, enjoyable shows. But I would argue that Andor is the best original Disney Plus show they've had so far. And perhaps the best thing Star Wars has seen in quite a while. This is not necessarily what we've come to expect from Star Wars. Star Wars is usually grand, pulpy space opera that is frankly designed for kids, and I love it, and I think that's part of its charm. But Andor has something a little bit different on its mind. This is boots on the ground Star Wars. This is not Jedi and Sith fighting. This is rebels and politicians. This is political intrigue. This is intense. This is drama of the highest order. There is this incredible group of characters at different parts of the galaxy crossing paths performed by an ensemble including Diego Luna and Stellan Skarsgård and Kyle Soller and Fiona Shaw and Andy Serkis. They get these incredible monologues and these incredible moments of intensity. Every week I waited with bated breath to see what was going to happen next. And I'm not going to say that it makes other Star Wars seem less. It was just really interesting and refreshing to see a very different approach. And I think Andor is proof that you can play in the Star Wars sandbox and make any kind of show or any kind of content you want. I cannot wait to see what happens in Season 2. At number 4, we have The White Lotus. Season 2 of The White Lotus aired in 2022, and there was definitely a thought that, is this going to be a one-hit wonder? Is there going to be a sophomore slump? How do you recreate the magic that was Season 1 of White Lotus? Well, there's two ways you do it. One, you bring back Jennifer Coolidge, who is as brilliant and funny and magical in this season as she was in the first season. I think when we look back at her career, The White Lotus is going to be the peak, one of the high watermarks of what she's been able to accomplish as an actress. But number two, it's its totally own separate thing. We're at a new hotel, we're in Sicily, and other than Jennifer Coolidge, we have a whole brand new ensemble, and I think that was a really smart way to do it. You get to build new characters, new relationships, a new mystery, while still having the clues and the non sequiturs and the eat the rich satire, and man, the satire and comedy in this season is excellent. It's not necessarily laugh out loud funny like when you're watching Abbott Elementary, but it is really smart humor where you're like sort of smirking because you've seen these people and you know how awful these people can be, and it's really nice to see them displayed like this on television where the camera and the writing is basically making fun of them. Gorgeous vistas, of course, and just an incredible array of new characters. You have Aubrey Plaza, Michael Imperioli, F. Murray Abraham, and on. Just a terrific cast of characters, a great mystery, a great, really, really funny resolution. And again, they're making another season, so I cannot wait to see how they come back with The White Lotus. Now, these next 3 shows, my top 3 shows, were basically in an insane battle as to which was going to get the number 1 spot, which was going to get the number 2 spot, and which was going to get the number 3 spot. And even as I sit here putting together this video, I am doubting my decision. So I'm going to do it the way I had it planned, but if you want to consider these 3 shows tied for first place, that's fine. I think they are all incredible, all a shining example of what can be accomplished in television. So let's get to it. At number 3, we have Severance. This show aired on Apple TV. It is a sci-fi mystery drama that gave me the same feeling as maybe watching Lost for the first time, where you're making theories, where there's visual clues, where the characters have fascinating backstories. It also is an interesting counterpoint to something like The Office, because whereas The Office took a very humorous approach to filmed entertainment, exploring the pain that it can be to work in an office setting and managing to balance work and life, this is a very different approach to that. This is like the peak level of what it can be to balance work and life. I don't want to give anything away about the show, because if you haven't seen it, sit down, get on Apple TV and watch this show right now. The cast is incredible. Adam Scott, Zach Cherry, John Turturro, Christopher Walken, Patricia Arquette. The writing is absolutely brilliant. Ben Stiller directed most of the episodes and continues to show that he is an incredible visual director, that he is thriving in television. And this finale had me audibly gasping. This was one of those iconic finales where you simply wish that the next season, Season 2, as is going to be the case, was ready to go immediately. Then again, every episode felt like that. Every episode would end and I'd be like, I need the next one. This show is visually stunning. The performances are incredible. I think it is unlike anything we've ever seen before, while also playing clear homage and taking inspiration from some of the classics of long-form mystery television like Lost, which I mentioned, like Twin Peaks. Just an incredible, incredible show. At number 2, we have The Bear, which aired on Hulu. Now, there's something you need to know about me. If you don't, before I talk about The Bear, I've spent a good portion of my life working in or being surrounded by restaurants. I grew up in a restaurant. I've been in kitchens my whole life. I know chefs. this is a world that is very, very familiar to me. And so in the same way that a doctor might watch Grey's Anatomy and say, this is ridiculous, I can't watch this is not at all like real life. Whenever something is dealing with restaurants or kitchen, I'm always approaching it slightly skeptically. That is not the case with The Bear. The Bear is anxiety as television. It is stress as television. This is the closest approximation I've seen to what it's like to work inside a kitchen. The screaming, the yelling, the personalities, worrying about tickets, worrying about ordering the right materials. They call the show a comedy because the episodes are half an hour, and there is an element of humor to it. But more than anything, this is television as stress. Jeremy Allen White and Ayo Adeberry are fantastic. Jeremy's character, Carmi, is an incredible creation. He feels like many people I know that need to strive for perfection no matter where you're working. There's a certain fish out of waterness to it, as he spent all this time working in Michelin star restaurants and is now coming back to run a sandwich shop. A great sandwich shop, but obviously a very different process than working Michelin star. The Bear, episode 7 in particular, I literally had to pause halfway through and take some time to re-catch my breath because I was basically having war flashbacks to things I've experienced in a restaurant. Sensational television, and again, I sound like a broken record. I cannot wait to see how this progresses with its next season. And now, at number 1, and I feel like even despite what I said where I had these 3 shows fighting for the top 3 spots, when all was said and done, this was the clear winner for me, and that is Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul aired its final season in 2022, separated in 2 parts, and this was one of those classic, perfect final seasons of television where they absolutely nailed the landing. As time went on, this show sort of became 2 shows in one. You had the lawyer story with Jimmy McGill, who became Saul, and Kim and Howard and all of that, and then you had the drug story with Gus Fring and Mike, which was more of the Breaking Bad story. This show was always excellent at elegantly weaving these 2 stories together and finding ways for the 2 of them to come to a head, which is certainly the case here. I'm not the first person that has said this, but I'm going to make a bold claim and say I think when all is said and done, and it is now, that Better Call Saul is the slightly better show than Breaking Bad. The characters were a little bit richer. It was a little bit more heartfelt. And speaking of heartfelt, this finale and a lot of this final season is absolutely heartbreaking. It goes to places that I wasn't sure it would. It ties a bow around really the entire Breaking Bad universe, because if you watch this show at all, you know that although it is predominantly a prequel, it does also have scenes that take place after the end of Breaking Bad. And the way it all ties together is so thoughtful and beautiful. Bob Odenkirk and Rhea Seehorn delivered extraordinary performances, as does the entire cast. But I am never going to forget Jimmy McGill. I am never going to forget Kim Wexler. And I am never going to forget Better Call Saul. And there you have it, my top 15 TV shows of 2022. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What were some of your favorites? Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and stay tuned because we're going to have videos coming up soon of my top movies of the year. We have announced that we're going to have a Mets podcast coming in the spring called Coffee and Ciga Mets, where myself and Amber are going to host that with a series of special guests. We're going to be doing movie reviews, we're going to be doing TV recaps, and we are finally going to actually be diving into the world of theater here on the channel, which we've been talking about and we haven't gotten to yet. So this is just the beginning. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.